Here is my home garden. It is July 9th, around 11:30 a.m. and it's about 80 degrees Fahrenheit. It's pretty warm today, and I just want to walk through here, and I haven't given a tour of this garden recently, so I wanted to show you guys what's growing. You remember earlier in the spring we had some guinea fowl visiting the garden. Well, it was my neighbor's guineas, and she's taking care of those and contained them in her yard, but last month they decided instead of just eating insects in my garden, they also wanted to take dust baths. So all of my beds and all through the garden, it was pretty much torn up. But at any rate, they're contained now, so I felt pretty safe to go ahead and plant out some summer seedlings. So I was a little bit late because of that, but I do have some basil growing down here in my bed, and I planted out some cucumbers over here. The kale is hanging in there, looking pretty good. This little tomato plant pretty much was dug out by the guineas. You can see some of the roots are still exposed there. I probably need to come over here and cover it up or do something with it. It's starting to put out a few tomatoes, so that's good. And then over here, see the anise hyssop is blooming. Behind it, some echinacea is blooming. But these two beds right here are pretty much being totally affected by the black walnut tree. I'll leave a link about the black walnut tree and why it's bad to have one close to your garden if you'd like to see that. But that black walnut tree right there has pretty much filled out completely, and that drip line is almost into the garden. So it's just getting bigger and bigger, and the roots are extending out further and further. And I've pretty much made a decision that I'm not going to grow anything over here anymore. It's just more trouble than it's worth to try to come over here and plant something and then try to tend to it. It's just makes my life really hard as a gardener. So if something grows over here, that's great, but I'm not planting anything else in these two beds right here. But I will continue to plant things in my square foot garden beds. These are real nice. It's just a pleasure to come down to the garden whenever I have something growing over here. I'll leave a link to how you can also make your own square foot garden if you'd like. I have a couple of tomato plants growing over here and a cucumber plant. The cucumber plant over there is growing right up the little trellis. I have just various peppers in here. So this is my Thessaloniki tomato plant, and it's planted in the garden bed in the corner. And it was pretty much shaded about 2 weeks ago by this echinacea. So I cut the echinacea back, and the tomato plant's doing real well. It was getting real leggy there for a brief time, so it started to respond and really putting out a lot of tomatoes now. So that's great, and I'll need to go ahead and get that red one off of there. Then over here, a lot of beautiful dill heads. I just love to clip off the little dill pollen and use that and just about everything. It's just yummy. And then down here is the patty pan squash. I've been using this in curry. Really easy thing to grow and nice to use it in curry. There's one right down there I need to get. I like to pick them when they're pretty small. If I go out of town and I don't pick that one, it'll be huge in just about 3 or 4 days. It's amazing how fast they grow. And I started to have a little bit of powdery mildew on here. Gosh, it's been about a week ago now. You know, I had just the white powder on the leaves. It had rained a lot and it was getting really warm. So I sprayed it really good, and I'll show you in a few minutes what I sprayed it with, but it seemed to have helped it. And so one more thing over here I'll just show you. This is a little jalapeno pepper plant, and of course, you know, the peppers and tomatoes do not like the black walnut tree at all. They'll just die right over. That one's not growing, but it hasn't died yet. I expect that if it gets any bigger, it'll probably die. And this is the elephant head amaranth. It had reseeded from last year. This is the little tomato plant I'm growing called a sweet pea currant. They're tiny, tiny tomatoes. I'm growing another tomato called I think it's called a Matt's wild cherry, and it's real tiny too, but not near as tiny as the sweet pea currant. So this will be fun. If some of these would start to ripen up and turn red, I'd love to try one, but they are about 1/5 of the size of a cherry tomato. And there's just green beans growing through here. I've harvested a lot of jade green beans. I put those in my curry as well. I'll upload that recipe for you guys as soon as I can. And then there's green onions through here. I need to go ahead and get those. There's French tarragon in there. Here's a carrot that has overwintered, and it's looking really nice there. Lemongrass is doing pretty well here as well. And then over here is a patty pan squash, but it's only about a half the size of the other one that I just showed you. And that's because of this black walnut tree. The squashes will survive, but they don't grow very big when they're close to those trees. This is called a raspberry sorbet zinnia, and that is the most beautiful color. I just love those zinnias. If you ever see a pack of the raspberry sorbet, pick them up because they're beautiful. And over here, I basically had a lot of potatoes growing and shallots and onions, and so I harvested all of those, and I went ahead and planted out some Romanesco zucchini. I'm hoping that these will be far enough away from the tree that they'll grow well. We'll see how that goes. And this is my son's little garden bed, but we didn't get to plant it out this year because I wanted to hold off until the guinea situation was under control. And then as soon as it got under control, I realized that the corn was 110 days, the corn that he wanted to plant. So it looks like we're not going to get to plant it out. So I might just go ahead and put some green beans or something in here. So we missed that little window of opportunity to plant the corn this year, but that's okay. Here are a couple other tomato plants. They don't look very well. Again, it could be from the black walnut tree right there. And there's not very good drainage over here. A lot of times water will puddle up, and so that black walnut tree, the substance that comes from that could just ooze on over here and causes problems. But there is a red tomato in there that something has found and decided to munch away on it. So I don't know about how this plant's going to do. Okay, let me go ahead and take you up to some containers and show you some peppers and tomatoes. Here are my containers for the peppers and tomatoes. If you will recall, when I planted out all of my tomatoes and peppers, I put them in containers and I planted them right behind me here on the retaining wall. That was so I could stake them easier. And anyway, we had some morning glory over there that was just very invasive and just wrapped around all of my plants and the tomatoes. So I moved everything over here just to make it a little easier. My tomatoes though, because there's not really anywhere to stake them over here, I put one here with a little cage around it. It's just kind of growing all over the place. And then there's one back there in the yard, and that one is on a little piece of concrete so that I could stake it there, because y'all know that I can't grow these in my garden because of the black walnut tree. Anyway, I want to go through here and I'm going to show you what I'm growing, and then I'm going to do a quick pepper harvest. Okay, so let's see. Right here is a Parks Early, the one that I'm growing from seed. It has a little bit of a spotting on here. I guess that's probably just a nutrient deficiency. I'll just probably go ahead and take off all of these peppers. I got one that's growing upside down right here. Isn't that funny looking? And then over here, these are the mammoth jalapenos. They are looking really nice. And so I will get those off today, and maybe I can get some more blooms and some more foliage on there. There's not many leaves. This was a plant that I didn't think would make it at all, and so it was one of those kind of plants you don't really want to throw out. I thought, well, I'll just put it in a container, and you know, it just took off. It's filled in with leaves. It looks, you know, pretty good. There's a leaf down here which probably can come off, but it's starting to put out a little bit of fruit down here, so that's nice. I think that's just a pimento plant. And this right here is one that I'm growing from seed. It's a French red sweet bell pepper. So this one's turning red very nicely, and it's supposed to be really good for stuffing. So we'll see how that does. That seed was given to me by a viewer. And then these are my Thai pepper plants, hot peppers. They are looking great, looking a lot better than the ones I put in the garden down there. So just waiting on those to turn red. That looks just really nice. I got those seeds from Baker Creek. And this is a habanero over here. So I don't know if this was the white habanero or not. It doesn't look like it's coloring up, so it looks like it might be white. We'll see how they end up doing. And then that's just the Thessaloniki tomato plant over there. It doesn't have a lot of foliage on it for some reason. I don't know why, but it's putting out tomatoes. And then this doesn't have very much foliage on it either, but it has a lot of little tiny tomatoes, so I'm going to go ahead and get those off. Okay, so let me go ahead and get this, and I'll show you what I come up with. Okay. And these are the Matt's Wild Cherry, and they're tiny. They're real little, and they're so sweet. They are delicious. I just love them. Okay, so there we go. It's a nice little harvest, and I expect a lot more peppers very soon. Thanks for watching. Y'all have a beautiful day.